when I started working in September, it was the first November, it was the first Thanksgiving that I had ever been away from home on Thanksgiving. He would almost, he missed a few Thanksgivings. He never missed a Christmas. You know, he's always home for Christmas, but a few Thanksgivings we missed. But this was the first time he and I were both gone, so I was feeling kind of low. We were up in Seattle and staying at some hotel right there below the Space Needle, and they had a Chinese restaurant in the downstairs. And, you know, I was down there by myself and just eating and feeling, you know, it was Thanksgiving Day, and I was just thinking, man, you know, here I am in a Chinese restaurant eating, you know, on Thanksgiving Day eating some kind of Chinese turkey. And, or what I think was turkey. Anyway, you know, I was about halfway through, you know, and there was a you know, there was booths with a planter up on one side, you know, and it was about this high up over the table, so I couldn't see over the other side, and I kept hearing, you know, and I thought, what, you know, and it sounded like two people were fighting there after a while, you know, two Chinese people were fighting, and next thing I knew, Daddy was like that, you know, so it kind of cheered me up, I guess, but he was always, I mean, everybody here probably has had some kind of prank pulled on him, but you know, if somebody pulled one on him, he was just as gracious with it. I think he enjoyed having one pulled on him as much as anything, you know, so, but that's the way he was, though. I mean, he just loved, you know, just being around people. I think that's what was most special to see him on stage, was that it wasn't an act. I mean, when he was on stage, he was there because he loved those people, and he was going to do everything he could to entertain them.
And he gave the world some of the greatest music that the world will ever know.
Yeah, he. I think we were talking about that a little while. You know, we're talking about the influence Gene Autry had on him, but his granddad was an actual Texas Ranger. I found this out. He'd used to tell me he thought his granddad was a Texas Ranger, but he never knew for sure. His granddad had told him he was. His name was Texas Bob Heckle, and he was like. We got a picture of him he's got long hair down to his shoulders and the mustache. And he looks just like Buffalo Bill, that kind of look, you know. And the first time Daddy brought this picture home, or he brought it actually to the office, I thought it was actually Daddy. He'd been out to the West Coast, and I thought he had made himself up to look like this because the guy looked exactly like him, and his eyes and his nose and everything. It's out at the museum out at Opryland now. But Texas Bob was a Texas Ranger. He was a cattle man. He was a courier during the Civil War, but I don't know for sure. I know, but I found an article on him in the Texas Ranger Museum in Waco, and I think probably in the 70s. I think he was a Texas Ranger, but and I don't think he was for very long. But he had among everything else, he had written a couple books of poems, and they were actually in the Arizona State Museum. We found them in the Arizona State Museum several years back, and reading through it, looking through it, a lot of his phrasing and everything is so much like, you know, what I'd see in some of Daddy's Western songs. And it's so incredible to look at, because I know, you know, he had to have inherited that, because he used to sing Sunday school songs for his grandfather. And in exchange, his grandfather would tell him stories. So I know that's where he got that first love for the West, you know, because you know, this guy was such a colorful character and such a good inspiration to him.
Bobby Lord's got an old Marty Robbins song he wants to share with us.
That I recorded, incidentally. How many people in this room recorded a Marty Robbins song?
I recorded a Ronnie Robbins song.
Oh, Ronnie Robbins. Oh, okay. That's close enough. That's close enough. All right, hit me an E there, Mr. Katz. We're traveling down two different roads in worlds so far apart. You want me, yet there's something else before me in your heart. You wanting me to change my life the way you live your own. Oh, but either take me like I am, or I'll go on alone. Oh, either say you want my love, or take the way you live. Remember though, before you get, you've got to learn to give. So if it's changed my life or go, then go it's gonna be. 'Cause I can't change my life when you want something more than me. I'll pick it now. roads and worlds so far apart. You want me, yet there's something else before me in your heart. You wanting me to change my life the way you live your own. But I can't change my life, and I'll go on alone. Yeah, I'll go on alone. Well, it was something like that.
That was Marty's theme song at the Opry for a long time.
Yeah, it was. as a
Remember, he
matter
used to
of fact.
sign on and sign off with that. Georgette Jones, daughter of Tammy Wynette and George Jones. We've already found out that you're not a professional entertainer, but I didn't know until a minute ago you don't even live in Nashville now,
No, I live in Alexander City. It's about an hour southeast of Birmingham.
in Alabama. Mama was from Alabama, right?
Right. I mean, she was born in Mississippi, but right on the state line, so 5 minutes from Alabama, and she kind of lived in both places, so she claims Alabama as home, too.
But you do sing. Do you do Mama's songs, Daddy's songs, your own songs?
I do kind of a variety of things. I like Patti Loveless and Pam Tillis and a bunch of other people. I like to sing a lot of different things, but I do some of Mom's and one or two of Daddy's, not that many. So,
Once he sung them, they've pretty well been sung, haven't they?
right, right.
Of course, the same could be said for Tammy as well. Can you do Apartment Number 9?
I will, and as a matter of fact, the one reason why I picked that one was because Mom had told me that when that was pitched to her to do it by Billy Sherrill, that she was very nervous because she said, well, you know, my dad had just done it a couple of months earlier, and she said, there's no way I'm going to do a song that he's done. So he had to talk her into it, and it ended up being one of her first big hits. So I thought, well, Mom and Dad both did it, so maybe we can make it 3.
All right.
Just follow the stairway to this lonely world of mine. You'll find me waiting here in apartment number 9. Not so very long ago, you walked away from me. And after all the plans we made, you decided to be free. Loneliness surrounds me without your arms around me, and the sun will never shine in apartment number 9. I keep waiting in this lonely room, just in case you change your mind. You'll find me waiting here in apartment number 9. Loneliness surrounds me without your arms around me, and the sun will never shine in apartment number 9. No, the sun will never shine in apartment number 9.
That's great. That's very, very good. I'm sorry. Johnny Paycheck wrote that, by the way.
Dad sang Apartment Number 9, and he had done it just a couple of months before Mom, they had pitched this song for her to do.
Oh, I see.
Right, and she thought there's no way I could ever sing that song after he has sang it. It's not going to do anything. If he did it and it didn't do anything, me doing it is not going to do anything.
I got
She
you.
was
Okay.
very, so she just was worried about doing it and no one wanting to hear that they just wanted to hear the Georgia Jones version, you know. And it actually didn't do that well for Daddy, and it did very well for Mom.
Yeah,
So.
sure did.
Didn't Bobby Austin record it?
I think he had the original
Bobby had
record,
the
didn't he?
original, yeah.
Yeah, I think he did. Of course, all of us were so saddened, and there was such a void left in our lives when your mom passed away. What are some of your special memories of Tammy Wynette being your mama?
Well, I had mentioned about how much she likes to cook earlier, and I can remember not really appreciating, you know, that. I think everybody's mom is the best cook in the world. I don't know if everybody thinks that.
No, mine not.
But I grew up, you know, just Mom always, you know, special occasions, always did things special for us. And I had been talking to you at the break, and he had asked if I could cook chicken and dumplings like my mom could, and I said no. Her sticking her thumb in it for some reason made it taste that much better. But I remembered one time when I couldn't be home for Thanksgiving, and I always went home for the holidays, but for this Thanksgiving I could not. I had been sick, and so I was at home 4 hours away, and I guess she must have felt sorry for me and knew how much I wanted to eat some of her cooking for Thanksgiving, and she got a huge styrofoam box. I mean, it was huge and probably this deep. And she had cooked, I know had to have been cooking for days, and froze all of it and then put it on dry ice and shipped it to me. And so I took it all out and heated all that up for Thanksgiving for our family at home, and then we had food to eat on for 3 or 4 months. Then when we finally got the last pack out, I remember my husband, he looked at me and he said, "That's the last pack. Maybe we should save it a little bit longer and we'll get it and cook it later." But
As a young girl, as a teenager, were there problems being Tammy Wynette and George Jones's daughter?
I think the thing that my sisters and I talk about the most is that you absolutely have no identity. I mean, I'm not Georgette. You go anywhere and you meet people and you're always introduced as, or you're pointed out as, oh, look, there's Georgia Jones and Tammy Wynette's daughter, or there's whatever. But you're never, hey, here's Georgette or Tina or whoever. And, you know, there's a lot of benefits to it. Everybody knows that's the truth. I mean, I got to travel a lot, and, you know, I got to sing and do a lot of things. I mean, even like this today, I'd never get to do if it hadn't been, you know, for my mom and dad. And so there's a lot of wonderful things that came out of it, more wonderful than the bad things, more good things than bad. So.
A lot of people in this room were close to Tammy. Jan, I know you and Tammy were very close friends.
I guess she was probably one of the closest friends. And we were there, we shared a lot of good times, and we went through some bad times together. She was there with me, I know, in a lot of my bad times. And but we had a lot of laughs. And at a time, I was there when Georgette was born. So, but there was a time when I said, you know, I'm quitting because of something that had happened in my life, and I just couldn't go on the road by myself. Period. And Tammy came over one day and she says, "We're going to Europe. I want you to come and go." And I said, "I don't want to go. I'm not going to sing. Period." She said, "You don't have to sing. I just need a buddy. I just need my buddy with me." And so anyway, she said, "We're just going to be gone 2 weeks, and it'll be fun." So I did, and eventually she got me to sing like one song, and she was so gracious because I was, you know, I tried to stay in the back as far as I could get because I just didn't want to be up there, and then when she finally did, and I was singing something, and I could see the fans in the audience, and I see them say, "That's Jan Howard. That's Jan Howard." And while she was introducing me, she said, "Yes, that's Jan Howard. That's my buddy." She said, "And I'm going to sing, but you have no. She's going to sing, and then you have to put up with me, and then Jan will sing, whatever, you know." And she was very gracious about it. Well, it ended up that I stayed with Tammy for about a year. And we had a great time, and it didn't bother me at all to be what some people considered, okay, to go back and be a backup singer. I didn't consider that. I was with my friends. And if they hadn't, and if I hadn't been with them, I wouldn't have done it at all. So it finally gave me the confidence enough to go back and do it by myself. And Tammy and I both talked and cried the day I decided that I had to leave. And she said, "You're right, but I'll miss my buddy." And I now miss my buddy
Do one of her songs.
very much. Wow, I don't know if I can, but Georgette, I recorded this in an album. In fact, I recorded 3 or 4 of her songs in albums, but I have never sung them since that day, since I recorded them in the studio. Because like you said, when Tammy, when she sang them, they had been sung. And so I just never did, and this is the first time that I've ever tried to sing this song. But Georgette's going to sing harmony with me. She's going to sing it with me. So we will attempt. Your good girl's going to go bad. I have to stand up. Stand up with me. I've never seen the inside of a bar room or listened to a jukebox all night long. But I see these are the things that bring you pleasure. So I'm gonna make some changes in our home. Well, I've heard it said, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. So if that's the way you wanted me to be, I'll change if it takes that to make you happy. From now on, you're gonna see a different me. Because your good girl's gonna go bad. I'm gonna be the swingin'est swinger you've ever had. If you like 'em painted up, powdered up, then you ought to be glad. 'Cause your good girl's gonna go bad. I'll even learn to like the taste of whiskey. In fact, you'll hardly recognize your wife. I'll buy some brand new clothes and dress up fancy for my journey to the wilder side of life. Because your good girl's gonna go bad. I'm gonna be the swingin'est swinger you've ever had. If you like 'em painted up, powdered up, then you ought to be glad. 'Cause your good girl's gonna go bad. Oh yes, your good girl's gonna go bad. Oh,
Georgette, you sound a lot better than that guy she used to sing with.
Oh,
I'd like to share with Georgette a story about her dad. About 1990, there was a phone call on our Codaphone, and it was George Jones. And he says, Jet, if you could call me back as soon as possible, I'd appreciate it. Well, we had called in, and we were at a Petro truck stop. So I called, and George says, where are you? I said, well, I'm outside of Knoxville. He says, can you get to Pensacola? I said, well, sure, why? He goes, well, I'm doing a little show down here with Merle Haggard and Conway Twitty, and I want you to come down here and sing a couple of songs with us. I said, I'm taking a left-hand turn, and I'll be there before the sun comes up. And so it was a great honor because I got to meet Conway and Merle and George. And then George liked to open the show. You were talking about the slots. He always says, I want to be number one. He says, that way, you know, I can go on home and watch television. So anyway, what he did for me was in the middle of his show, he says, I've got a surprise for you folks. I want to bring out a little girl, and you're going to love her just as much as I do. And he gave me the honor of being on stage with 3 of the greatest country music singers and to share part of his show and to sing. And so he wrapped his arms around me along with Conway and Merle. And, you know, especially just starting out, to have, I mean, I call them the sequoias of country music, stand up there and reach their arms around you. It's a true love of country music and the heroes.
That's a great story.
We got the youngins here today, the offspring of a lot of country music legends. Robin Young, Farron Young was his dad. I guess everybody in this room worked with Farron. We knew him. We can all tell Farron Young stories. Are you Farron's oldest?
Second oldest.
Second oldest?
You know, I've always heard that you can't swing a dead cat in this town without hitting somebody who can tell you a Farron Young story. And I have found that to be true. I was out on the lake, out on Percy Priest Lake this year, out on the boat, and was sitting there talking to somebody, and they were asking about my dad, and I was telling them that. I said, man, I hear stories about my dad all the time. Somebody leaned over and said, who is your dad? And I said, Farron Young. They said, he ran through our fence one night. And they sat there, they said, we heard this awful bang, and we looked, and this Lincoln was up through our fence, and went out there, and your dad got out of the car, and he's like, well, I'm sorry, I'll pay for that. Tried to get the car started, and I think there was a 2x4 or something shoved up under the axle, and he couldn't get it out. So he asked them to give him a ride home, and they said, you know, well, we were a little irate. I mean, this guy just tore down our fence, and now we got to take him home. So they started taking him home, and he made them stop at 4 bars on the way before he got there. So they ended up spending the whole evening with him.
I'll tell you what, it's thanks to your dad that I have a recording contract had a recording contract here. I came to Nashville to do my original demos. Joe Allison produced them, and my dad was in town with me, and Joe said, I got to do something about getting your dad out of here, because all he wanted to do, about like your dad, was, no, you need to do this part again and do this part again. So Joe called your father to come and get my dad to go to all of those 4 bars so that I could get a recording session done. That's true.
What was it like growing up as Farron Young's son?
Well, you know, people used to ask me that all the time. What's it like having a celebrity for a father? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have anything to compare it to. You know, he's just dad. I mean, if anything, sometimes I was jealous of the other kids that I went to school with, because their daddies worked 9 to 5 and they were home every night and out doing things with them, to where my dad was this guy that used to show up once every month or two. And he would, you know, come in the house, and, you know, maybe we'd go out and do something. Maybe we wouldn't. Maybe he'd head out to the golf course or whatever. So, I mean, you would see him at times, and but, I mean, we always got along real good. We had fun the few times that we did get together and do stuff. I know one time when I was a little bitty boy, he was trying to teach me to ride a bicycle without training wheels on it. And his method was real good. He put you on it. We had an 8.5 acre yard with a big circle driveway. He ran me about 4 acres of the way down and let go. And I crashed and burned and got up. About that time, there was a Cadillac pulling in the driveway. And this guy gets out of the car and goes, Farron, what are you trying to do, kill that boy? And he goes, no, I'm trying to teach him to ride this bicycle. So I'm over crying. The guy came over and dusted me off, and he said, I tell you what, Farron, go away for a minute. He sat there and talked to me for a minute, and he pulled out a big silver dollar out of his pocket and said, you see that? And I was like, yeah, I see that. And he goes, I'll tell you what, you get on this bicycle and you ride around this circle drive one time, I'm going to give you this silver dollar. I got on that bicycle. You would have thought I was Evel Knievel. I had it on the back wheel, everything going around there. He gave me the silver dollar. Well, at that time, I didn't know who this was, but I found out later. One time I asked Daddy, I said, who was that guy that taught me, that was wearing all the fringe and stuff, taught me to ride the bicycle? He said, that was Lefty Frizzell. Of course, I spent the dollar. You know, I didn't know. Had I knew then what I knew now, you know, I would have kept the...
Was there a lot of music around your house growing up? Did any of the other
Pretty good bit. I mean,
boys and
Dad,
girls sing?
of course, you know, Dad was friends with you and everybody, with Webb. Webb would come over to the house, George. You know, I think Hank Jr. lived over there by us for a little while, and then Harlan Howard lived up on the hill behind us. We had people, you know, coming over all the time to the house, Brenda Lee, God, everybody, you know. So, I mean, it was, you kind of grew up around these people, you know, and I mean, I knew my dad was somebody and he was a celebrity, but, you know, on the other hand, he was just Dad, you know.
I'm sure everybody in here's got a Farron Young story. Michael?
One of my favorites, my dad told me back in his rock and roll days when he was working in, I think he said some in the late 50s, and he was on the show with Farron, because sometimes back then, you know, rockabilly, they would put rock and country. Of course, he was a big Farron Young fan, Dad was. He said he was all nervous and everything, and he'd never met your dad before, Robin, and Dad said he went out and he did his thing, you know, opened the show one, said, during intermission, said, Farron goes, hey, boy, come here a minute. Dad hold up and said, yes, sir. You sang pretty good, boy. What the heck's your name anyway? And Dad said, Conway Twitty. And Farron said, hell, you can't help that.
Smokey.
I got a quick Farron Young story. It starts out with a close departed friend of mine, and I'm sure many people here, Rusty Goodman.
The Goodman family, yeah.
Well, prior to being a member of the Goodman family, he was a member of the Plainsman Quartet. Roy Clark's familiar with the Plainsman Quartet.
Toured with Jimmy Davis.
They worked the show in Des Moines for KRNT. The Plainsmen were on the show. I can remember two groups that were on the show. The Plainsman and Farron Young and his band. I forgot who else was on the show. Maybe somebody in this room was on that show. But prior to joining the Happy Goodman family, Rusty was a cigar-smoking friend of mine. There are a few of us left in this world, but Rusty loved to smoke cigars. Before the Plainsmen were called on, he had a cigar fired up and was talking to somebody and realized that they had been introduced on stage, and he rushed out and laid his cigar on a little box by the corner of the stage. And they were out singing, and the cigar caught the stage curtain on fire. And while the Plainsman Quartet are singing their hearts out, on center stage, the smoke starts coming around the corner of the curtain. I mean, fogging it out around there. And the show kept going on. And the first thing you know, here comes Farron Young, had got the big fire extinguisher back in the stage, from the stage hands, and he come out pumping that thing right around the corner. And a bigger show was going on at the end of the curtain than there was out at the Plainsman Quartet. And I thought that was the funniest thing that I'd ever seen.
Would that make
Were you on that show?
Would that make
Skeeter
Farron
was on
Young
that
the
show.
first country artist to do smoke? You know, to have a smoky stage?
No. Hey, there's some stories about Roger Miller and Farron Young that I can't tell. I'd love to, but the FCC wouldn't allow it. I guarantee that. No, but Farron sold me my first bus. Well, not my first bus, but really my first bus, because I sold the one I had to mail at Daly's. And it was a little dog, but it was great, you know, a little.
You know,
And when I
Roger
say
Miller.
Dog, I mean dog.
Dale,
But he did sell me
Roger
that
Miller
bus.
had one of the best lines, because everybody used to always, nobody ever accused Dad of being soft-spoken. I mean, you knew exactly where you stood with that man.
That's right.
And Roger Miller, I think Ralph Emery interviewed Roger one time, and Roger had the greatest quote about Dad. He said, Farron Young had a mouth as big as his heart. And I just,
And that's what it was.
The story, I think people may know the story, so correct me if I get any details wrong, but apparently when my dad was young and struggling, he was out back of the Opry one night and real upset about not, doing too well in the music business, and Farron came by and said, what's the matter with you, boy, and he said, I'm just trying so hard to make it in the music business, and Farron said, well, I need a drummer. Do you play drums? And my dad said, I'll learn. And Farron sent him down and said, go here and they'll set you up with a drum kit and you just bill it to me, and if you can learn to play drums by Monday or whatever, you can play drums with me. And my dad went and got that drum kit and learned to play drums and went on the road with Farron and played drums. And for years, every time we'd see Farron would say, you owe me $800, boy, for that drum kit.
he was always amazed with Roger. He said, Roger can do anything. There's nothing that Roger couldn't do. I mean, from writing a Broadway musical to learning to play drums, in an hour before he goes, he could do anything.
Yeah, with Roger, in my dad's band, that's why I can't remember what Roger played, because every time
Everything.
we went out, he played a different instrument.
Mm-hmm.
He played bass one time, he played fiddle another time. You throw him an accordion, he'll play that,
Well, we've had some great entertainers in this business through the years, Roger Miller being one of them. But Farron Young, to me, still is pretty much the epitome of walking out on stage and capturing an audience. He could walk out and he could do just about anything he wanted to do. And I don't know if this was a Smokey Smith tour or if it was an Abe Hamza tour or something. We were on a tour, and Farron was on the tour. Who's, one of my senior moments. Ferlin Husky. And you know, Ferlin had, he had this alter ego thing going all the time, and he did all of these, impressions of everybody. And we had done about 3 or 4 days, and Farron had listened to everything that Ferlin had done. So Farron went on before Ferlin. It was one of those things, where Ferlin was the star. So Farron went on before him, and he started doing all these imitations.
Did his whole show.
Pardon?
Did his whole show.
And Ferlin was back in the dressing room, and so he knew it was about time for him to go on. So he got ready, and he walked out to the edge of the stage, and here's Farron doing all of his impressions. In fact, doing Ferlin's entire show. That's what he did. And he was, Ferlin, how Farron was. He was just, he was having himself a ball, and the audience was loving it. And all of a sudden, he looked over the side of the stage, and Ferlin had walked out to the edge of the stage. And he continued on with what he was doing and finished the song. And about the time he finished, Ferlin had gotten mad enough that he started walking out on the stage. Ferlin walked on one side, Farron went out the other side. And Ferlin walked up to the microphone. He had said, "You have just seen my show." Kept going, and all the way to the hotel, Farron locked himself in. But Farron was a great entertainer. But so Ferlin Husky, we've had so many great ones through the years.
One time, I was on a plane in Dallas, and Farron got on, and he said, "I'll just sit here by the big boy." And he sat down, and Farron had probably had some real strong Coca-Cola that day. And he started talking to me, and he told me, he said, "I hear you're getting a divorce, boy." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, we ain't going to let that happen." He said, "What about that son of yours?" I said, "Farron, everything's okay. Don't worry about it." "No, we ain't going to let that happen. As soon as we get back to Nashville, we're going out to your house. And I'm going to talk to your wife, and y'all going to work this out, and you're going to stay together." I said, "No, we ain't, Farron. Just leave it alone." He said, "Yes, we are." Well, we got off the phone, got off the plane, something else happened. He got me in some more trouble, almost got me whipped. But anyway, he didn't go home with me. But then when he and Hilda were getting a divorce, I called him and I said, "We're going out to your house and talk to Hilda." And he said, "That ain't funny, fat boy," and he hung up the phone.
Now, let me tell you about Farron. Now, I'm going to tell you. My mother taught Farron in high school in Shreveport, Louisiana. And Farron was so rowdy that Mama heard him singing going down the hallway. And she stopped and said, "You have a beautiful voice. I love your voice. Why don't you do something with it?" And he said, "I am. I'm singing every day." And he said, "Well, if you would put out that cigar," and he was smoking a cigar down the hallway of high school, "put out that cigar, I want to talk to you." And Mother was a substitute teacher. Said, "Look, these kids are driving me crazy, and I know you've got some promise. Have you ever been to Louisiana Hayride?" He said, "No." He said, "How would you like to go backstage to the Hayride?" "Yeah, how can you get me backstage?" He said, "Well, my son knows everybody. He carries Hank Williams' guitar, and he knows everybody, and he will take you backstage. You've got to calm the class down." And so when that bell rang for the class, Farron jumped up and he said, "I'm going to kill anybody that talks while Mrs. Kilgore's talking. I mean it. I'm going to take you out and kill you." And he controlled the class. And so I'm the guy that walked Farron backstage on the Louisiana Hayride. Years later, I'm up in Nashville, and I'm going through a divorce, and Farron calls me and says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm definitely going through the divorce." And he didn't try to talk me out of it. And he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I think I'll buy me a condo." He said, No, save your money. I bought this mansion out on Harbor Island. Bill Anderson lives out there, and I want to rent you the bottom half of the house. And I'm gone all the time, and Hank Jr. had just fell off the mountain, and I didn't have a job. So George Jones said, "I want you to be the singing host of the Possum Holler." And he said, "Singing maitre d'." I said, "Maitre d'?" He said, "Okay, what's another word?" I said, "Host." He said, "Yeah, I like it better." So Farron said, you come and you live with me. We'll live together. Just the two of us. We'll have fun. I said, great. And I hadn't had a drink in 21 years, so it was back then. But those days, I would have a drink or two. And Farron was he was a great cook, though. I mean, he could cook my favorite, shake and bake pork chops, Crowder peas with onions, sweet potatoes. He knew how to cook, man, just like we were the original Odd Couple. He called me at the Hall of Fame bar, Motor Inn bar, and he said, hey, brother, are you coming home early? Yes, Sheriff, I'll be home probably as soon as the traffic dies down, about 6:30. He said, don't lie to me now. I got your favorite, shake and bake pork chops. I got some candied yams that are delicious. I got Crowder peas, and I got the onions I'm chopping up in, the little tiny onions. You'll like that. And I got you some fresh sliced tomatoes. I said, great. Now, what time will you be home? I said, 6:30 to 6:45. He said, okay. And about midnight, the waitress said, Merle, you got a phone call. And this boy said, listen, you think I slave over this hot stove? Cooking you shake and bake, sweet potatoes, Crowder peas. He said, don't even think about coming home on an empty stomach. You better stop at the Waffle House, because Byron Binkley's dog Fluffo is getting your meal. Good night.
Don't even think about it.
But you know what? He was a wonderful neighbor out there. Whenever anything would go wrong in the neighborhood, if we had snow, Farron was out shoveling everybody's driveway. I mean, he was a wonderful, wonderful neighbor.
Bill,
And I got to tell you one more, Bill, because you probably had this. This is a quickie. I'm downstairs, just got out of the pool. We had an indoor swimming pool. Oh, it was a beautiful place. And I'm laying down, just got out of the pool, and he came down and said, Merle, a couple of gnat blowers up there to see you. I said, gnat blowers? I said, oh, okay. Thought it was a figure of speech. I went upstairs, and there was two guys, and they had little gnats, just like in a cartoon, little gnats all over their faces. And they said, hey, Merle, you and Farron need a little yard work? I said, no, we do our own, thank you. Couple of gnat blowers.
Okay,
Did
follow
they ever
that.
come by your house, Bill?
I can't follow that. I can't.
Billy, what you got?
You know, really, the side of the business that
Oh, you're crazy.
Oh, too much. Way too much.
Her host is gone.
Go on.
That's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Robin, you're doing some singing. We've worked some things together. I don't think you look a lot like your dad. You're a good bit bigger than he is, but boy, when you want to,
Well,
you
that
sure
peed
can.
him off, too, I can tell you.
Open a can of worms.
When I was 13 years old, I was bigger than Dad. And I came in with a bad report card one day, and he had raised us to where we said yes, sir, and no, sir, and yes, ma'am. You didn't ever say what or huh. It was always, I beg your pardon. And I had this bad report card, and he was getting on me. And every time he talked, I'd stand up out of the chair, and he'd go, sit down, boy. And he'd set me back down. I'm telling you, your grades better come up. I'd stand up, sit down, boy. And he kept pushing me down, and I couldn't understand. Finally, I got back up, and he said, will you quit standing up? I ain't going to look up at you to chew your butt out.
The point I was making about this is while you don't necessarily look like your dad, you sure can sing like him and sound like him when you want to. Do us some Farron Young music.
Okay. We're going to do you one that a nice, clean-cut fella came to town, like you were talking about how Dad used to help people out. This clean-cut fella came into town and met Dad up at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge one day and pitched him this song. This guy's name was Willie Nelson, by the way. And Dad cut this song, and there's kind of an old story I'll tell real quick about where back in those days, I think the singers got their money quicker than the songwriters did. And Willie was kind of hurting for some money, so he came back up after Dad had cut the song and said, Farron, let me just sell you that song. I need some money. And Dad said, no, don't you sell that song to nobody. He said, you know, that song's fixing to be a hit, Willie. I just made some good money. You're going to make money. And Willie was like, no, let me just sell it to you. And Dad said, no. What do you need to get by? Willie said, well, $500. So Dad gave him $500 and said, don't sell the song to anybody. Willie got his first royalty check in. I think it was for like $30,000, $40,000. Dad said next thing he knew, he was in Tootsie's one day, and all of a sudden a hand come around him, grabbed him by the face, opened his mouth up, and Willie Nelson French kissed Farron Young right there at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. Dad said it was the best he was ever kissed by a man his entire life. And this is the song. Hello, walls. How things go for you today. Now don't you miss her? Since our darling walked away, and I'll bet you dread to spend another lonely night with me. With lonely walls, I'll keep you company. And hello, window. Well, I see that you're still here. Now don't you miss her? Since our darling disappeared. And looky there, is that a teardrop in the corner of the pane? Now don't you try to tell me that it's rain. Was she went away, left us all alone the way she planned. I guess we'll have to get along without her if we can. Hello, ceiling. I'm gonna stare at you while you know I can't sleep. So won't you bear with me a while, and we must all stick together or else I'll lose my mind. I've got a feeling she'll be gone a long, long time. Yeah, I've got a feeling she'll be gone a long, long time.
Rex Allen Jr. Now, we've been talking about Ronnie Robbins doesn't want to be Marty Jr. or Robin Young, Farron Jr. or Michael Twitty, but you are Rex Allen Jr. Has that been a help?
Yeah, I even have the middle name.
Which is?
My dad's real name is not Rex Allen. His first name is actually begins with an E. It's Elvie. Yeah, no kidding. Isn't that horrible?
Shocking.
Yeah, Elvie Rex Allen. He changed it to Rex Allen. That's where Elvis had. No, I always tell everybody my middle name. You change the E to an S, and I'd be dead and rich. You know. No, same conversation that which one of the juniors had about changing their name, because I was you went by Marty Robbins Jr. Well, I did. We did the same thing when I came out of the service. My dad set me down and said, "Now, if you're ever going to change your name, now's the time." And about that time was when Buck's son, Buddy Allen, was out and had a lot of records, and I'd listen to the radio and they'd say, "This is Buddy Allen, Buck Owens' son." And then they'd say, "That's Buck Owens' son, Buddy," and so on and so forth. And I thought it wouldn't make any difference. And all of us juniors know the same thing. It doesn't make any difference. They still know you. They still will say that you're
Rex Allen Jr., or they'll still even mispronounce you and say that you're Ronnie Robbins. No, Marty Robbins Jr. No.
Your dad had a little bit different background in that not only was he a singing star, he was a movie star in the cowboy movies and all. How did that make your life any different?
The good things are, the wonderful memories I have are things like going on a camping trip. At least I'm not like Willie, you know. But going on a camping trip with Slim Pickens, driving along, and Dad and Slim were in the front seat, and me and my brother and Darrell Ann, who was Slim's daughter, in the back seat. And we're driving along, going to someplace to camp, and Slim and Dad getting snake bit in the front of the car. Snake, yeah, they get snake bit, and they have to get a snake medicine. You know what I'm talking about. But wonderful memories like that. The other ones that are really, really neat, and all of us will tell you the same thing. There's some, I can remember one of the most unbelievable memories was I was flying with my dad, because like every other junior, like what you said, your dad would kiss you goodbye in about June and said, I'll see you sometime in September. And I'd go on the road with Dad, and he would, we were on a plane once coming out of Denver, going to Boise, Idaho, or something like that. And the plane stopped in Rapid City, South Dakota. And the pilot came back before they landed and said, Mr. Allen, there are 4,000 people at the airport in Rapid City. He says, I know you're not getting off there, but they heard you were on the flight. And would you mind stepping off the plane and just waving? So Dad says, sure. So we stopped, and one poor fella got off the plane there. There were only about 4 of us left, you know. But there were 4,000 people there, and the pilot came over to Dad and said, if you'd like to sign autographs or something like that, don't worry about it. We'll just wait until you get finished. And so we waited until we got finished and then took off, and the pilot came to me and he says, you want to go up and sit in the co-pilot seat? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. He says, have you ever seen Mount Rushmore? I said, no, sir. He said, fine. Well, those kind of memories are the kind you can't lose.
But you know, Rex, how is your dad? I know your dad is
great.
not deceased.
No. Dad's very, very much alive. He's doing wonderful. He lives in Tucson, Arizona. He has the health problems that Dad has, or he has very poor circulation. He's had that surgery where they cut you from here all the way up through the groin and replace the arteries. And then they did that twice on this side, and it didn't work, and then he refused to have it on this side, and then he's had that artery surgery over here, and he's had brain surgery.
What he's doing?
Three, 4 times. Well, he just got married about 3 years ago, so
He's
something's
doing
working
great.
right, you know.
He's doing great.
And my wife hopes that stays in the genes, you know.
What's the song, The Last of the Silver Screen Cowboys?
Last of the Silver Screen Cowboys is a song that was written by Steve Dorff and some fellow named Snuff Garrett. Snuff, yeah. I didn't. No, I don't need that one. This was a song that I did a whole album of Western songs called the Singing Cowboy Album. And talk about memories again. In all the years that I've worked on the road and stuff like that, my dad and I have only performed together like 3 times. We never went on the road together or anything like that. I mean, I went out and I'd perform at Dad's show or something like that, but after I started having hits or stuff, Dad and I never worked together, which is really a shame, and I missed it once or twice or 3 times.
Well, is this song about him?
This song is about Silver Screen Cowboys. It's about all of them, Roy and Gene and all of those kind of people. And the original record has the narration of Dad and Roy Rogers in it. We got Roy to come in and do the narration. And the cutest story about this song is the Silver Screen Cowboys. It was cut with a big orchestra, and so caps, you need to tune up the 12 string on this one. Yeah. But the cutest story is that Dad went in and did his narration. Of course, Dad, you know, and Charlie, that lonesome cougar, he went and got all them flapjacks. You know, he does all those narrations. And Roy went in and did his narration. They came back in the studio, and we were listening to the playback, and Roy started shaking his head and laughing. And Dad said, what's the problem, Roy? He says, the older I get, the more I sound like Gabby Hayes. But they aren't here, so I'll have to sing them, I guess. But that's where the song came from. Pretty song. About the good old days, really. You know, all of you paid a dime for a movie. And I don't think those days will ever come back fully. See if this brings back a memory anyway. The last of the silver screen cowboys, the last of a fast dying breed, cattle grazing, 6 guns blazing. God knows this is what America still needs. The last of the silver screen cowboys, standing tall for what he believes is right. And now don't you push him around, 'cause more than one villain's found that he don't back down from a fight. Roy and Trigger, we love you, and Hoppy, we saved up our dimes for the Saturday double features. And we sat through both movies 2 times. Gene, Lash, and Rex were our heroes. We knew good would win in the end if we could just turn back the pages and ride those old trails once again. Now Doodad, the last of the silver screen cowboys. We settled the score with our fists. Oh, we loved little babies, treated women like ladies. But it was only our horse that we ever kissed. Then Roy, then the time slipped away before we knew it. And you little wranglers gave up your play guns and your toys. Oh, but memories don't die. No, they're still riding high, 'cause they're the last of the silver screen cowboys.
That is so good. I never, ever think of Rex Allen, but I don't think of the streets of Laredo.
Streets of Laredo. You want to hear that?
Yes, I do.
Oh, here, you got to hold.
We're going to trade microphones.
Did you, while you're doing that, let me just ask you now, were people like Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and Hopalong Cassidy, did they hang around your house when you were growing up? I mean, were they your playmates?
All of those. Dusty Rogers, he used to come spend 2 weeks at my house in the summer, and I'd go spend 2 weeks at his house in the summer when we were little boys growing up. And a lot of the cowboy singers, you know, all of the old pioneers were there. Bob Nolan used to come over to the house for dinner all the time and sing songs, and people like that. It was a lot of fun, you know. But like you don't really notice it. Any of us juniors, they're just people that are friends, aren't they? You know, but here's the... There has to be a theme song for Dad. It'd probably be this one. Oh, good luck. As I walked out in the streets of Laredo, as I walked out in Laredo one day, I spied a young cowboy, all dressed in white linens, all dressed in white linen, as cold as a clay. Beat the drum slow,
Play the fife slowly, play the death march as you carry me along, and take me to the green valleys, there lay the sod o'er me, for I'm a young cowboy, I know I've done wrong. Let 16 gamblers come carry my coffin. Let 16 cowboys come sing me a song. And take me to the green valley, there lay the sod o'er me. For I'm a young cowboy, I know I've done wrong. Beat the drum slowly, play the fife lowly, and play the death march as you carry me along. And take me to the green valleys, there lay the sod o'er me, for I'm a young cowboy, I know I've done wrong.
Jet, I guess all you know of your dad, Hank Williams, is the things that you've been told and the things that you've learned through a very painful process of having to go through the courts to establish your own identity, really.
Well, you know, Bill, not only have my dad's friends shared stories with me, but also to his fans. And they've made him come alive to me as a person, you know. And, I mean, I grew up opposite of most of the stories I've heard, you know, about how this was Dad and he's famous. Well, I grew up saying Hank Williams was famous, and I became an adult and I said, wait a minute, that's my dad. You know, so I had maybe the tails to the heads of the coin. But, you know, it's an honor to be here this evening, but also to sit and share the stories, you know, and and I've been very fortunate to perform with most of the folks here, and I tell you, there's nothing like country music.
Well, you're certainly a marvelous part of it these days. I couldn't help but wonder, having Merle Kilgore in the room and knowing Merle's background in Shreveport, did you know about this young lady? Did you know that Hank Williams had a daughter all those years? Did you know her mother?
Not until the lawsuit.
Actually, Bill, I laugh and say I can't lie about my age. You know, women really don't like to talk about their weight or their age. But if I lie about my age, you could lose a lawsuit.
You told the story of your life and your struggle to establish your identity and all in a book. I can't think of the name of the book right off.
The name of the book is called Ain't Nothing as Sweet as My Baby. And my dad wrote that song, and it talks about a blue-eyed, blonde-haired little baby girl.
How did you feel when you began to suspect that you were Hank Williams' daughter?
Well, you know, I mean, that's like, it's unbelievable. I mean, there's really no words to, I mean, that's like saying, I'm going to give you $1 billion.
But it's more than the money.
No, I'm using that as just an example. I mean, as exaggerated as that is the fact that they say, you know, Hank Williams might be your daddy. You know, and I mean, what I'm saying is you cannot comprehend that thought process. And I put it into money. It's like saying, I'm going to give you a trip to the moon. You know, it doesn't register. But for me, the thing that was the most important thing of everything was being adopted twice. Everybody wants to be wanted. And through the process that I had to go through, documents were turned over to where not only did I find out that a man by the name of Hank Williams was my daddy wanted me. And I think that that says a lot for the man, Hank Williams, that he stood up for his unborn child.
There was a letter, right? That he-
Actually, what they refer to it is called a pre-birth custody contract, which was drawn up by his attorney, it was notarized, and it was signed by him.
saying that at a certain age he would have full custody of you, right?
That's correct. And like I said, you know, you have to look at back then at that time, but that Hank Williams wanted his child, made provisions for that child, sight unseen. It had a lot of detail to it, you know, about who was going to do what, as in I could have visitation with my mother. But the thing about it is it didn't care whether, it didn't say whether this was a boy or girl, whether it was healthy or not. It's just that I'm taking this baby. And as I said, that says, to me, you know, you listen to his songs, but also to me, I think he gave me a little bit of his heart.
You never knew your mother either, did you?
I never met her. By the time I found out who she was, she had passed away. And in fact, I had hoped that I could find somebody that could say, yeah, your daddy told me that he was your daddy. But I got better than that. I got my father's signature on a legal piece of paper saying yes. And there is no amount of money in the world that anyone could give me, because that means more to me than anything in the whole world, is to be wanted, especially by my dad.
Billy Walker, you worked one of the last shows, or were with Hank Williams at one of the last shows he played, weren't you?
Yeah, I was his opening act for 10 days from December the 11th. We opened in Houston, Texas, and we worked all of South Texas and Dallas and Waco and Bryan or Snook, Texas. And then the last date was in Austin on December the 21st of 1952, and that was 10 days before he died. And I've tried to retrace what happened to him when I left him. And he came back down to Greenville, around Greenville and Montgomery. And he went and spent Christmas Eve with the old boy that he started out with down in Pensacola, Florida. That was down Pappy McCormick, because I talked to Pappy McCormick about his actions. And tried to retrace as many steps as I could to find out exactly what happened to him. And of course, everything is really pretty sketchy along that. Hank Williams knew that he was in trouble with the pain medication that he was taking. He got hooked on pain medication that was for his back. And he told me that because he rode with me all the time we were on this trip. We were together constantly for over 2 weeks, night and day. And he told me personally, he said, I'm going to the Caribbean right after New Year's Day. And he said, I'm going to try to get myself straightened out because I'm going back to the Opry February and you're going with me. That's what he told me. He said, you're going with me. You're not going to be part of my act, but I'm going to help you, and you're going to open my shows until you get started, things working out on your own. And he said, I'm going to go get myself straightened out because I know what my life is doing.
Did he ever mention to you that Bobby Jett was pregnant with his child? Did he ever bring that up at all?
No, he never did. We did have a $5 bet on your cheating heart and Kalijah, though.
Betting what?
Well, see, it wasn't out then. He had recorded it, and he had some demos on it, and so he played me Kalijah, and he says, that'll be the biggest song ever recorded. And so he paid me Your Cheating Heart, and I said, you're a crazy guy. I said, Your Cheating Heart's a lot. He said, I'll bet you it's going to be the biggest. Of course, I never got to collect my $5.
Charlie Walker, you must have known Hank Williams fairly well. Hand Charlie a microphone over there, one right there on the table. I'm sure you, as a disc jockey, you probably interviewed him.
Yeah, I had a nightclub in San Antonio. I did 5 hours a day for 15 years there, and I had a nightclub, 51, 52, 53, and 54. I sold it in 54. Hank worked for me on his last birthday, September 17th, 1952. And I went and had a birthday cake made for him, about 3 foot square, I guess. It cost me, I think, $35 in. That's a lot of money in 1952. Anyway, and so I hid it behind the piano and that night, and he was so hot. I mean, because I would go and buy my own newspaper advertising and everything. I had him draw up the drawing with the ropes around it and everything. And he was so hot, and when we had the biggest crowd we'd ever had, and we'd had, you know, Carl Smith and Webb Pierce and everybody. And but when he sang Jambalaya. It was the biggest thing going. Every jukebox in the country had it on. And when he finished that song, I took the cake and pulled it around in front of him. We had about 850 people out in this patio, and I got them, and they sung Happy Birthday to You. And he cried, had big tears coming down his cheeks, and he said, I ain't never been treated this good before. And I'd just give anything. We were broadcasting it, too. You know, I wish I could go back and have a copy of all those. We broadcast every Friday night and Saturday night from my club, and I just never thought to tape them. The guy on the station, I was buying time from him, and I was paying him more money to buy radio time than he was paying me to work at the station, you know, but I was making all right. No, he did, and he came and did my show. I called his room that morning, and the boy that was traveling with him, what was his agent's name from down in Montgomery, was with him at the time. Can't think of it right now, but that don't sound right. But anyway, I've still got the contract that they signed, you know, to do the show. And I called him and I said, is there any possibility of Hank coming over and doing my radio show? Just a block and a half from where I was. He said, Charlie, he hadn't done a radio show in a year. He said, he just doesn't feel up to it. He said, he won't do it. And I said, well, is he there? He said, yeah, he's right here. So he gets on the phone and I said, Hank, this is Charlie Walker. He said, yeah, how you doing, pal? I said, I'm fine. I said, is there any chance you doing my radio show this afternoon? I said, if you can just come over for 15 minutes, lets everybody know you're in town and so forth. And I said, I'll send a car, we'll pick you up, bring you up the station. He said, no, you don't need to do that. I said, I'll be there. I said, really? He said, yeah, I'll be there. So he came up and he stayed, I guess, 45 minutes. He had a fishing cap on with one of those long bills that had the visor, you know, sun visor down in front of it. And he had on a pair of shoes, a pair of jeans. And he told me his feet had been bothering him, and he didn't wear his cowboy boots, and he didn't wear them that night on the show either at the club. But he had his white fringe suit on with the fringe and that you've seen in pictures and everything. Did one of the greatest shows that I ever saw. I think he didn't do any drinking at all that night. And I know Jim Denny called me Monday morning. This was on a Friday, and said, well, I understand Hank was there. I said, yeah. And of course, you know, he had left the Opry, and he said, how do you do? And I told him, I said, man, it's one of the greatest shows we ever had. I said, everything was wonderful. And there was dead silence. And Jim said, well, he said, that's wonderful to hear. I'm glad to know that. But we had a great time. And, of course, the big fight broke out during the dance. And I won't tell the whole thing. But some guy was trying to get into the dressing room to see Hank. And I told him, I said, you can't get in there now. I said, he's getting ready to leave. And this guy was pretty loaded. And he took a swing at me. And when he did, his hand hit Billy was with him, and she was holding this cake, and the cake went everywhere. It was all over. And then it made Hank mad, and Hank grabbed this big guy and pushed him right into me. And he was what we called him tush hogs. I had 2 guards there at the club who took that many, and we could have used 10. And when Hank pushed this guy into me, why, of course, I grabbed about 4 or 5 other guys, and we got him and took him, threw him out of the club. And of course, he was already drunk and weighed about 260 pounds. When he hit that ground, he passed out. And as Hank left the club with those big, long legs, he stepped over this guy to get out of the club. He said, I'll see you, pal. And that's the last time I ever saw him. But it was a great experience. And the guy on the radio station, I'll say this, he met me as I came out of the station that day, and he said, I thought you was going to have Hank Williams on with you this afternoon. I said, yeah, he was here. Well, he was looking for a guy come down the station with a fancy suit on and everything. I said, and you see that tall, skinny guy with that big, long bill fishing cap come walking down the hall? He said, yeah, that wasn't Hank Williams. I said, yeah, it was. But anyway, yeah, I had some great memories.
Jet, sing us a Hank Williams song.
It'd be my pleasure. You got to stand up to sing Hank now. Now, I know y'all don't know the words to any of the Hank songs, but if you can remember one or two, I'd like for y'all to sing along. Today I passed you on the street, and my heart fell at your feet. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Somebody else stood by your side, and she looked so satisfied. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. A picture from the past came slowly stealing as I brushed your arm and I walked so close to you. Then suddenly I got that old time feeling. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. It's hard to know another's lips will kiss you and hold you just the way I used to do. Oh, heaven only knows how much I miss you. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. No, I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's great, Jet. The only thing better than a Hank Williams song is two Hank Williams songs. Can we get you to do one more?
Oh, you betcha. But I got a little story to tell about this one. You know, there's been an awful lot of stories told on my dad. And, you know, to hear it from what I consider the horse's mouth, and that's someone that was there with my dad. I had the honor and the privilege of doing a show with Mr. Jimmy Dickens. And it was the first time he ever met me, and Jerry Rivers, who played fiddle for my dad, says, well, Tater, what do you think about her? And he held his arms out and he goes, goosebumps. And he's told me, he says, you know, Jet, let me tell you a little story about your dad. He says, we were on an airplane. And he says, you know, Tater, you need a song and I'm going to write it for you. And so little Jimmy told me, he says, now when Hank Williams is going to write a song and he's going to give it to you, you sit up and pay attention. So he says, I got my pencil and paper. And your dad says, so write down, hey, good looking. What you got cooking? He said, your dad wrote that song just like that. And he says, Tater, that song's a good one, and it's going to #1. So little Jimmy says, I went off, and I sang, I practiced. He says, I ran into your dad about 2 weeks later, and he says, your dad says, Tater, you know that song I gave you? Tater says, yeah, Hank, I've been practicing it. And he says, forget it. It was too darn good, I recorded it myself. And that's the true story of the Hey Good Looking. Say, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me? Saying, hey, sweet baby, don't you think maybe we could find us a brand new recipe? I got a hot rod for the $2 bill. I know a spot right over the hill. There's soda pop and since free. If you want to have fun, come along with me. Saying, hey, good looking. Whoa. How's about cooking something up with me? I'm free, I'm ready, so we can go steady. How's about giving all your time for me? No more looking, I know I've been tooken. How's about keeping steady company? I'm gonna throw my date book over the fence. Find me one for 5 or 10 cents. Keep it till it's covered with age. I'm writing your name down on every page, saying, hey, hey, good looking. What you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with? How's about cooking something up with? How's about cooking something up with me?
Oh, that's great. I know from having talked to you earlier this year that the biggest thing that happened in your life over the past 12 months was making amends and friends with Hank Williams Jr., because there had been some animosity there for a while.
Well, you know, Bill, you're absolutely right, and I'm real proud to stand here tonight and say that Hank Jr. and I have made peace. And we did it on our dad's 75th birthday, and we both decided what better time for us to put our arms around each other. And, you know, as I said, not only do I think that our dad had a smile on his face, I'd like to think that maybe he had a tear in his eye. And also, too, maybe for the first time in the life or the death of Hank Williams, he may be at peace, because his children are no longer fighting.
That's wonderful. It's so good to hear. Merle Kilgore, you are Hank Williams Jr.'s manager.
Yes, I am.
So you know that story from the other side.
Oh, absolutely, from the get-go. And it's really amazing, a lot of people that were siding up on Jet's side with her husband, who's an attorney and a powerful attorney, too, you know, I mean,
A
tough.
good attorney.
I mean, a razor attorney.
A great attorney.
Yeah, Keith Atkinson, you know. And now they're so shocked. When they call, I said, well, if it's okay with Keith, it's okay with me. And the guy will say, what? Are you kidding me? I said, no. And Keith does the same thing. It's okay with Merle. It's okay with me. And it's just a shocker, you know.
Well, that's
So
wonderful. It's
so-
wonderful from all the angles. You grew up in the shadow of the Louisiana hayride, so as a little boy, a young boy, you knew Hank Williams. Hank
Absolutely.
Sr.
Yeah, you bet. And I worried him to death about, you know, how he writes songs, and he was always nice enough to tell me, you know. And I tell this story over and over because you got to get ideas from somewhere, and I didn't realize it. Because I got on him one time, I said, Hank, how come you reading true romance comic books? My sister reads true romance comic books. Why do you read them sissy books? He said, sissy, hell, boy. Where do you think I get my ideas from, you know? And he would read me a line out of there, you know. He said, now, that would be a good idea for a song. And he'd turn a page and say, listen to this. That'll be a... He said, that's where you get ideas. And he said, listen to people's conversations. And he had a little bitty pencil. I never will forget. Little bitty pencil and a little small notebook. And somebody would crack something funny in the car, as musicians will do, you know, going down the road with nothing else to do but think up funny, witty things. He'd write them down. And I said to myself, there goes another one.
Of course, Merle Kilgore grew up to be a pretty fair songwriter himself. How about doing one of your great songs? You wrote one of the great Johnny Cash classics. Where'd you get the idea for that? Did you get this out of True Romance?
No, actually, June and I were working the road show, Johnny Cash in 1962, and I lived about 3 blocks from her. She said, Kilgore, when we're off the road, let's just me and you write some songs, you know. I said, well, that sounds good. And we wrote a song called Promise to John that Hank Snow and Anita Carter recorded. We got several songs recorded, and we'd write every day. So, same thing. got an idea for a song today, June? Well, I don't know, Kilgore. My back's been bothering me. But, you know, she said, I found an old letter that a friend of mine is gone through a divorce, and he's a picker from Chattanooga. And he said, I'm through with love, but love is a burning thing. She said, I always thought that might be a good idea for a song. I said, yeah. And we started out on it, you know, and we got about a verse of it and part of the chorus. And Carlene had come home, and she was making us some sandwiches. I think she was about 12 then. And we got stuck. You know how you, when you're writing songs, you just got stuck. And we were writing for her sister, Anita, and she had already had 3 of our songs. And so I said, well, we'll finish it tomorrow. She said, yeah. I said, my back's killing me, and we'll be ready tomorrow. And we already got 3 for Anita anyway. Well, I got home, and about an hour and a half later, she called. Kilgore, get over here quick. He said, they called back, and they need one more song for June, and let's finish that Ring of Fire thing. So we went over there and knocked that out, and we sung it to on the phone. Then we rushed down there and gave it to her, and she recorded that song that night. And she sings so beautiful, Anita Carter, and it was just like an angel singing. And it was this was during the era of folk music, you know, and 63, and it was just a beautiful folk song. And we were on tour with Johnny, and he said, you know, I just love that Ring of Fire. I love that song. And he came down at breakfast, and he said, I don't know how to tell you all this, but I had a dream. I heard the Ring of Fire with Mexican trumpets, and I was singing it. And I thought he had maybe taken an old yeller or two too many. But that was all right with me, because I'd love to have a Johnny Cash record, you know. I said, great idea, Chief, great idea.
We'll do the Merle Kilgore version of it for us.
Sick. Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell in your ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. And Johnny Cash said, suey! Oh, I'd love to hear them boys play. The taste of love is sweet when hearts like ours meet. I fell for you like a child. Oh, but the fire was wild. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. Suey! Thank you very much.
Thank you, Merle. You know, one of the young'uns we have really not heard much from today, sitting right back there between Robin Young and Charlie Louvin, Harold Hawkshaw Hawkins. You are known as Hawkshaw Hawkins Jr.
Junior, I am.
Okay,
Harold
so you've
Franklin
got the
I've got the
junior name.
Legitimate junior. This is a junior moment.
Well, I've heard nothing but wonderful things about you from somebody who's a big fan of yours, who was here with us on some of our other family reunion shows, a lady named Jean Shepherd. I guess you know who she is.
Yeah, I think I've met her.
Yeah. Jean Shepherd, your mama, was expecting you when your father was killed in the plane crash in 1963 with Cowboy Copas, Randy Hughes, Patsy Cline.
Mm-hmm.
So you never actually knew
No, he
your
was
father.
killed March 5th. I was born April the 8th. 33 days later.
Bill, I was there when he was born also. I was there when a lot of them were born.
Were you there when I was born, Jane?
No. No, darling.
Was I
Might have
there
been
when I was born, Jen?
So the things that you know about your dad are things that people have told you down through the years. Of course, he was, as we were
Harlan.
talking earlier, he was a big man.
Yes, he was 6'5" from what I hear. Harlan, I wrote for Harlan Howard for a year, and Harlan told me some stories. Of course, the FCC probably wouldn't let me tell some of them stories, but
Hey, do you know where Hawk got his name, Hawkshaw?
You said something to me earlier about that, and I'm not sure. I think I might know, but let's hear it.
Well, Hawkshaw, Harold and a couple other kids were playing in a alley back at his hometown. And there was a guy that came and swiped a bicycle from one of his neighbors. And his neighbor come up and he said, boy, do you see anybody fooling around my garage earlier? And he said, yes, sir, I did. He said, that fella down the street came and got your bicycle. He said, you're a regular Hawkshaw, aren't you? And that's where Hawkshaw got his name, because Hawkshaw means super sleuth. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
No, that's not the story I heard. I heard something about 6 rabbits. Hawk was... Well,
Tell yours.
You tell
I'll
yours.
sing,
I like yours.
I sing y'all a song. How about that? Well, I'm not sure. You know, it's kind of foggy. My grandparents have been dead a long time, and
We'll vote on your story.
well,
Yeah. Well, hey, it don't hurt to hear 2 of them.
this guy, he was shooting marbles, and Hawk had killed 6 rabbits, and Hawk traded these 6 rabbits for his guitar, and Hawk learned to play the guitar, and this guy that he traded the rabbits for is one that I heard named him Hawkshaw. That's my story. That's what I've heard.
And I'm sticking to it.
And that's well,
He had one of the most colorful nicknames, though. They used to call him the Hawk of the West Virginia Hills.
Yeah.
That always just sounded, I get goosebumps hearing a name like
Well, on all his albums, it says 11 yards of personality.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'd like to have met the guy.
I got to watch him bowl one time.
I bowled with him.
Did you? That was the most remarkable thing I have ever seen. It was just like this huge, tall giant threw that ball. Why, those pins went, they just scattered like you've never seen before. I mean, it was just something I remember. It was just so wild. He was so great.
Harlan and I and Gene and Hawk would go bowling. Well, Hawk was so tall and his arms were so long, he would throw the ball and it wouldn't even hit the alley till it hit the pins.
Halfway down.
And I told Hawk, I said, it's bowling, not basketball. But the pins didn't have a chance because, I mean, they're boing, all the way down there. But he's great.
Did anybody ever ride in the car with him?
I did. Worked with him.
He was known to put the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, he flew.
Oh, that's where I get it there.
Yeah, I know. That's why I love you so much, too.
He'd straighten out them curves up in West Virginia.
Well, Mom can't drive, and he put the pedal to the metal, so I got the combination of the both of them. I can't drive, and I speed all the time.
Give Charlie your microphone there, Skeeter.
I got one Hawkshaw story. A bunch of us was riding in Wilma Lee and Stoney's bus. We was on a tour. Well, they wanted Hawk to do some driving. And the first time he tried to stop, it was the kind of brakes, you know, if you was on level ground, he'd check your speed like from 40 down to 25, but then the brakes would be hot and you didn't get much more slowing. And Hawkshaw told Stoney, you better get these brakes fixed or you're going to kill somebody. So we went on and made the tour, and coming back in on Dickerson Road out here, and Stoney was driving the bus. And somebody did one of those switcheroos in the front of Stoney, and immediately put on their brakes and their left blinker. Well, Stoney couldn't pull over around him, so he smacked them. And this guy got out of the car, giving it this, you know, and Hawk got out of the bus, and he said, I told you, Stoney, you were going to kill somebody if you didn't fix them sorry brakes.
I
I want to make sure he gets to talk, though, and I want to make sure he
That's the
gets to
worst
do
part
his
about
part.
it.
I know he don't.
No, if you
talk
got a
much.
story, share it with us.
Well, he knows this, and he knows I have loved him from day one.
Well, let me tell you what she did to me one time. When I was a kid, I was probably 12 years old. I was just, oh God, Skeeter Davis. Well, I seen her backstage at the Opry one time. This is when Opryland was open, and me and Skeeter made a date to go out and ride the new roller coaster there at Opryland. Well, the next day I got up that morning, I got all, put my smell good on. Right before I was fixing to leave, Skeeter calls. Hawk, I'm not going to be able to make it. Just ripped my heart right out of my chest. Never forgave her for that yet.
Well, did you go home and write a sad song?
No, well, I was only 12.
All the kids loved me. You know, just all the kids loved me. And I loved all them, like Robin and his brother.
Because she would buy us popcorn stuff at the Opry.
When Farron
Dad would
wouldn't.
take us to the Opry,
Skeeter was
and we
one
said,
of
Dad, can we
y'all."
get a Coke and some popcorn? No, boy, you can't get nothing. Sit down over there. And when he'd go out and do his part, he'd ask Skeeter to watch us. And
We
as soon
had
as Dad
fun
would
then.
hit stage, Skeeter would say, come on, let's go get some cotton candy and popcorn and Cokes and stuff. And we loved her.
But the story that it's the night that Betty Jack and I worked in Wheeling, we loved Hawk so much. But Hawk knew we were such big fans, and we met him in Wheeling then. And we were both so nervous and so excited and everything. And he saw our nervousness. So he came over and he gave us each a silver dollar to twist and hang on to and everything. And so then that night when we were fixing to leave, we had recorded we just had I Forgot More. And he had just had a new session, and he said, I'll sing you girls my new songs that's coming out. And so he did. He detained us. And then we were told not to sing the one we would have coming out after I Forgot More. Betty Jack said, we'll sing you the one we got coming out after this one. I was always happy we did later because it was the only time she really got to sing it because we had that fateful accident that night and took her life. The next time I saw your daddy, he was just filled with guilt and he had tears because he always felt that he had detained us and he was dealing with if I hadn't stopped you and if we hadn't had those times, you wouldn't have had that accident. He was thinking all these feelings, and I was always so glad I got to see him. He said, but I've got something for you. I said, that wasn't ever your fault. You gave us, that probably made her the happiest of anything that could have ever happened before she died, was to have that time in that dressing room, and you singing to us, that had to be so special. And he said, well, I've got something for you. I don't know which one was hers and which one was yours, because we'd given him back the silver dollars when we left that night, and because they were special to him, that's what he told us. So he said, but I want to give you one of them. And I told him, I keep saying, there's going to be the time when I want to turn it over. And I was telling Carol Lee this in the dressing room a while ago. I guess maybe it's my age or the illness or whatever. But I've got little things. I've got something for Dean. I've got something for you. And I'm going to give you that silver dollar. I didn't bring it today, but you're going to get that silver dollar.
that's special.
I have it, and I
Bless
wrote on
your
there,
heart.
Hawk, in 1953, and then
Bless your heart,
1955 when he gave it to me.
You're a sweetheart.
That's
He knows I
beautiful.
love him, though.
You know, it's ironic, too, Hawk, that your dad's biggest hit came about the time you were born, after.
The week after he died, it went #1, stayed #1 for 4 weeks.
And it's a country music classic written by our friend Justin Tubb. Lay a little bit of it on us.
Okay, then I can tell my Farron Young story. Had our number changed today, although I hated to. But each time the phone would ring, they'd want to speak to you. And it hurts to tell them you're not here with me. Maybe now old telephone will let me be. It's not in the book now, so you'd better write it down. Just in case your love for me should ever come around, you might want to call and break the news to me. Just call on some 77203. I keep the telephone beside me all the time. hoping that you might want to call and say you changed your mind. If you do, then darling, you know where I'll be. I'm at lonesome 77203. Just call lonesome 77203. Thanks, guys. Thank y'all. Appreciate that.
And then he would say, he'd lean into the microphone and he'd say, and don't say anything to your enemies that you don't want your friends to know. He used to sign off his shows at the Opry.
Is that right?
Oh, you didn't know that?
Never knew that.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah,
something new.
Yeah, well, he said that many times. What's your Farron Young story?
Oh, like I said, I was a kid, and Farron would walk by the dressing rooms there at the Opry, and Farron was there. I guess he'd been doing the curls a little bit, and he's, young Hawk, come in here, come in here. Mom grabbed me by the arm, pulled me out of Farron's dressing room, wouldn't let me go in there. I said, oh, come on, Mom. She wouldn't let me go in that dressing room for nothing.
Well, you know, I was just down in West Palm Beach with Bill and Jim Ed and everybody. We were down there playing the fair, and your mama was down there, and now his mama can hold her own with Farron Young.
Oh, yeah.
She always
Oh, yeah.
could. And in between shows, we went out to the car because there was no place to sit at the show. So we went out, me and my wife went out and sat in the car, and Gene Shepard and Benny were both sitting out there in the van right next to us. So we rolled down the windows and got to talking. And she said, Robin, you're going to go do this taping here on Friday. And I said, yeah. And she said, well, Hawk's going to be there. Little Hawk's going to be over there. And you're going to get to meet him and everything. Y'all hit it off real well. And I said, oh, good. I've been wanting to meet him. And she goes, and tell him if he doesn't act right, I'm going to whip his butt. And I said, Jeannie, if he's your kid, he knows all about butt whipping already. He already knows.
You know, it's really great. A lot of these guys, Ronnie and Robin and Dean, I've never met these guys, and it's really an honor to get to meet these guys.
Bill, do you notice the similarity of the vibrato and the tone of voice that each one of these guys has? Man, I tell you what, we was having chills a while ago when he was singing, because I can remember, you know, I was a real good friend of Hawk's, and I used to go over when he was working out them white horses that he had over there on Maplewood Lane. In fact, he handed me his airline ticket when he said, here, kid, you be Hawkshaw Hawkins on that 6 o'clock plane. He gave me his open airline ticket to get back to Nashville, and he took my place on that fatal plane crash that he had. But each one of these guys, you can just hear so much of their father in them. And I know that they're not trying to sing like their father. That's just the natural genes that they have.
I was going to say, too, knowing him so well and loving him so much, too, through the years, from the time I pat you in your mama's belly when I came to her when your father died. I mean, you know, the pain, I think, too, sometimes that maybe we don't touch on. I felt a lot of love and concern, too, because of the popularity of Patsy and the giant figure that she became. It's like Hawk was so, overlooked or not mentioned. You know, it's always the plane crash that killed Patsy. And I just want you to know that I've thought of y'all so much because of that, too, that you've lived with that all through these years. And your daddy, who was so great and who was so loved and was just so important to so many people. And it's just so great to see you. And
Imagine Kathy Copa. She lost a husband.
Yes,
and
and that's
father.
what I meant.
So,
And a father, a husband and a father.
you're right.
I just want you to know there's a lot of people that I talk to that share that love and that pain and that thought of that for you. And don't ever underestimate how wonderful and how much your daddy's loved.
Bill, you know when George sings about who's going to fill their shoes, they ain't going to pinch none of these kids' feet, are they? Mighty good talent in this room.
Let me say something here. You know, we look around us here, and we have an awful lot of youngsters here that we look at them, and not only do they look like their fathers, but they sound like their fathers and their mothers. And it kind of reminds me of a story. When I was a small child down around Sparkman, Arkansas, you know, Sparkman was a very small town, and they didn't have money enough to pay, for street lights and those things. And of course, back then they didn't have too many of them anyway. But on special days like Christmas and Thanksgiving and all, they would all hang out lanterns. And in the evening, this gentleman, he would come along and he would light those lights. And the darker it got, the further it got, but you could always tell where he had been. Their father has left quite a legacy because they're gone, but the shadow is there, but the lights are still burning.
You bet.
Absolutely.
Aren't you a philosopher?
It's just...
old lamp lighter.
Will you plug in the old lamp lighter? He'll do anything to plug a song, won't he? Michael, I think you're the only one here of the young'uns that's only sung one song. You did Hello, Darling back earlier. I think we need another Conway song.
You reckon?
I think we do. Let me ask you about the necklace that you're wearing. Now, I've seen your dad. It's the C and
CT
the
is his
T there.
logo.
Maybe they can get a close-up on it with the camera there. Is that his? Is that the one that he wore?
Well, there's only two of them in existence. The original was made for Dad by Jimmy J, who we were talking about earlier. They used to run United Talent, the booking agency that Dad and Loretta Lynn had together. But Jimmy J gave it to Dad and was made by a jeweler out here in north of Nashville. But after my dad passed away, it was in the estate, and I got the executor. You know, first, of course, I wanted it. Well, because of different things we won't go into now, I couldn't get it. One of them can of worms. But anyway, the executor, Sonny Carden, went down with me to the jewelers and took a cast from it and had this one made from it. And it's exactly the same, the chain and everything. The original, my dad's widow has. She bought it in the estate sale. But this is just like it, and I keep it close to my heart everywhere I go.
I never saw him without his, and I think it's great that you're wearing it. Do one of his great songs.
All right, I think I'll do one. You know, Dad was known for every once in a while he would write and/or record songs that were, how you say, risque, only cutting edge, dirty. No, he would never say nothing dirty. No. This was one that came out in 1973 when we were doing the Mr. Anderson, Bill. We were doing the softball thing, you know, for muscular dystrophy out in Oklahoma City. And everybody would walk around in big buttons. I don't know if you remember, had Let's Boom, Boom, Boom with Conway Twitty. And this is one everybody can jump in there, too, at the right moment and help me out on it, okay? I can almost hear the stillness as it yields to the sound of your heart beating. Bum, 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 yeah. And I can almost hear the echo of the thoughts that I know you must be thinking. Bum, bum, bum. And I can feel your body tremble as you wonder what this moment holds in store. Bum, bum, bum. And as I put my arms around you, I can tell you've never been this far before. Bum, bum, bum. I don't know what I'm saying as my trembling fingers touch forbidden places. Bum, bum, bum. I only know I've waited for so long for this chance that we are taking. Bum, bum, bum. Well, I don't know and I don't care what made you tell him you don't love him anymore. Bum, bum, bum. And as I taste your tender kisses, I can tell you've never been this far before. Bum, bum, bum. Yes, and as I take the love you're giving, I can feel the tension building in your mind. And you're wondering if tomorrow I'll still love you like I'm loving you tonight. You have no way of knowing
but tonight's will only make me love you more. Boom, boom, boom. And girl, I hope that you'll believe me, 'cause I know you've never been this far before. Boom, boom, boom. Lord, boom, boom, boom.
Think about it, darling.
Right after your dad wrote that song, he called me. My office was across the hall from United Talent in those days. And he called me over late one afternoon. He said, I want to sing you a new song I've written. And he sat there, just him and the guitar. And he did the boom, 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 you know. And when he got through, I said, that's really good. I said, now the boom, 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 that's where the music's going to play, right? And he said, no, I'm going to sing boom, boom, boom. And I went out of there scratching my head thinking, he's lost his mind. What is he talking about? But he knew, I mean, he had the vision for that song.
Exactly. You know, a lot of people don't think of him. I mean, everybody, of course, here knows it. But a lot of people in the audience don't know that Conway Twitty was, of course, everybody knows he's a great singer and everything, but he was a great songwriter. And, you know, he always said it's that song, you know, it's that song that makes a singer. We were talking about a while ago how he listened to 2,000 or 3,000 songs, you know, just to get down to 10. But he said, it ain't me, it's that song, you know. I said, well, Dad, I believe I'd give you just a little taste of credit in there, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he had so much soul. My dad was such a soulful man. I used to tell him, I said, Dad, you know, you can get more feeling and soul out of one word than a lot of singers I've listened to can out of a whole song. And I think it's because he was such a great person. My dad really was one of the finest human beings. That I get asked all the time, you know, what's it, I'm sure everybody here can, what's it like to be Conway Twitty's son? What's it like to be Farron Young's son? What's it like, you know, you heard that, and Ronnie and everybody has, but I've always answered it this way. I said, well, you know, as proud as I am of what my dad's done in this industry, and God knows he's set a lot of records, you know, more #1 records than anybody in the history of music, and 55, and I could go on and on and on, you know, talking about it. But as proud as I am of all that, I'm 10 times more proud to be the son of Harold Jenkins, the man, because he is one of the finest human beings I ever knew in my life, and I'm very proud to be his son. If I can be half the man he was, I'll be doing all right.
The thought comes to me that I know there's an awful lot of technology these days and a lot of things going on in the music industry, but I feel we have lived in the very best time of this industry and of this world. I really feel that way, and I don't know whether anybody shares that or not, but I think that the music industry as we have known it, the performers being so available to the fans, and the friendship among people that have gathered like we are gathered today, tell me that we have certainly had something special and shared that with one another.
And the world.
And the world.
And the world. Yes.
Bill, Harold, I think this would be great for the fans to know, because I know it happened just last year. Didn't they put a monument now?
Yeah, they put
and
a monument
I think the fans
down,
might like to know this.
down in
because it's-
Camden, Tennessee, where the site of the plane crash, they put a monument down there and dedicated it. And Kathy came, and Randy and all of them came down, and we did the county fair down there, and it's a pretty neat place. You can
Finally,
still,
they have a place now where the fans can come
yeah,
and
they can
talk
go. And
about
there's a
it.
mailbox where you can leave your name, and I guess you'll get a thank you card and everything. And it's pretty neat. Where has anybody here ever seen the site where it happened? There's a big tall tree, and right at the base of it, there's a hole in the ground about as big around as maybe 2 of these chairs. And it's just, you walk in the woods right there where it's happening. It's spooky. I mean, I got goosebumps now just thinking about it.
The hole was caused by where the impact.
Yes, that's where they brought the
It was about 6 or 8 foot deep, wasn't it?
Well, now it's not. Well, it's full of leaves now, so it's probably 4 foot deep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it'd be nice to know that there is that monument. I knew it just happened just last year, right?
Last two years ago. It'd be 3 years ago this July.
That's great. It's nice to know that it's there.
Kitty Wells came down, and Johnny, and that's the first time I guess I was ever on TV. For a split second, they didn't interview me or nothing, but I was standing there next to Mom. I was looking good.
You know, Bill, talking about the monuments, my father, when he passed away, in his will, he wanted to be cremated, and he wanted his ashes spread in Old Hickory Lake, where he lived and loved out there. So we Merle got hold of Johnny Cash and asked Johnny if we could go out to his place and spread the ashes from off the cliffs out there. And Johnny took care and accommodated us on it. It was all first class. And that's one thing that I've had people say, you know, well, I'm coming to Nashville, I want to visit your father's grave. And he doesn't have one. You know, there's no marker, there's no headstone for Farron Young. And to me, one of these days when the CMA wises up and they put him in the Country Music Hall of Fame, that's going to be his headstone, that bronze plaque in there. And that's the day I'm living for. That's what I want to see. That will be Farron Young's monument.
Well, he certainly belongs in the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Amen.
He
So
certainly
does Conway
does.
Twitty.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
Conway Twitty
definitely.
does. You're talking about 55 #1 records. Yeah, he certainly does. This has been great sharing this with Dean Miller and with Robin Young and Hawkshaw Hawkins Jr., Rex Allen Jr., Ronnie Robbins, Jet Williams, Georgette Jones.
I'm proud of these boys here. That I know their daddy would be proud of them if he was here.
You've seen a lot of them come and go, Mr.
Yes,
Carlisle.
I have. Yeah.
What kind
Sure.
of words of advice have you got?
Well, my advice would be ready when the time comes for you to go, so you'll know where you're going. And I know where I'm going to meet my wife and my daughter, my mother and father, brothers and sisters.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Dale, we need to leave on a happy note. If anybody can pick us up.
I can't test 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello there. Doodle doo doo doo. Good night, everybody. No. I couldn't tell none of the stories today on the great Roger Miller that we did so many shows together across country. I just couldn't get into those stories. And also, Marty sold me his bus after he had his first heart attack, you know, things like that I could have told, but I'd rather sit and listen to these kids tell their stories about these people that I have run around with and messed around with. I didn't know they were so damn good.
We got to wait till the statute of limitations
It's great.
runs out on.
And to leave,
Well, leave us with a song, Dale.
and leave you with this, all right? I'm gonna live fast, live hard, die young, and leave a beautiful memory. I want to live fast, live hard, die young, and leave a beautiful memory. I'm a wampus cat, let me grab my hat, and baby, come along with me. I want to live a lot of happy happen, really going on the spree. I want to live fast, live hard, die young, and leave a beautiful memory. Well, you may not approve of the things I do, but it really don't bother me. Ain't nobody gonna tie me down. I wanna stay footloose and fancy free. So jump back, make tracks, move out, and let the pretty girls at me. I wanna live fast, live hard, die young, and leave a beautiful memory. I wanna live fast, live hard, die young, and